Welcome to Rabbi Son, hot takes on news, pop culture, and religious issues, hosted by Rabbi Patrick and my son Javon. Spiritual, irreverent, always fearless, produced by Darshan Yeshiva. Javon, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing terrible.
You're doing terrible? Why are you doing terrible?
Because life.
Because life? Yeah. It's that bad math class. It's just brutal, right?
I guess. It's just boring.
It's just boring. Well, we were discussing the difference between boredom and ADHD, right?
Mm-hmm.
So did you ever come to a conclusion on whether you're bored or have attention deficit disorder?
Yeah, I have both.
You have both?
Those are valid identities.
I love it. All right. Well, so the question is, what are we doing here? So everyone here, you know me as Rabbi Patrick, the founder of Darshan Yeshiva, the Punk Torah Network, co-founder of Pluralistic Rabbinical Seminary. But now you're getting a taste of what my actual life is like, and being here with our son Javon, who has opinions on everything in a good way, no shade. And you're here in our office too. So thank you very much for listening to us and watching us. And I hope you'll support us. All of the info on ways you can support us is going to be found here with the recording. But we just want to do something different. You know, Darshan Yeshiva, you've had all of this sort of written stuff. I've done some podcast stuff, but I've never done something like this. And we've never done something like this. And so we just wanted to do something different for you and see how it goes. So if you like it, make sure to like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And the financial support is greatly appreciated. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to independent Jewish spirituality online. You can also just become a student at Darshan Yeshiva. So you can give an organization money, but it's better to receive than to give. Or I think it's actually probably the other way around. Yeah, it's the other way around. But you know what we mean. So we definitely want your support. Become a student, and that way you get the podcast, and you get really cool Jewish content and classes and all that. So that's what we're doing here. So obviously, you might notice a little something here. I mean, let's call it what it is. So, Javon, we adopted you as of this recording 2.5 years ago. You say so. Does it feel like it was shorter or longer?
Oh, I feel like it's long.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How long does it feel like you've been here?
I don't even know. I just feel like I was here.
Like just the stork dropped you off.
Exactly.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah. It has been short, but it felt like longer. Yeah. At least to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a time where suddenly it felt longer? Or
yeah, I forgot. I think it was it the inauguration of Glenn Youngkin?
Yeah,
and then I was like, oh my gosh,
January.
Has it been like 2 years already? And it's like it wasn't by that time.
It hadn't been a year. Yeah. Well, because it was January 15th. That's when he was inaugurated, and then 2 years later, you're just like, oh,
yeah. I thought it was like, oh, oh, wasn't here that long.
So we, in the process of adopting you, and obviously, you're only going to get some of the information here, friends. You don't get to have all of it. But, there had to have been kind of a moment when you were first kind of learning about us. You probably didn't know this was going to be part of it. Mm. But was there a moment for you when you were kind of reading about us, because you had a little bio type thing on us, where you were just like, oh, they do that?
I don't know. I remember the cats.
You remember the cats? Okay. What was it about the cats that you remember?
I don't know. I remember them in the little book. That's like and then I did read about the different trips I took, but I mainly remember the cats.
Really? So the cats were like the standout thing for you?
Yeah, that's when I think about the book. That's the first.
Yeah.
The cat.
So this was the adoption book that we had put together for you so that you could learn about us and all of that. And we actually had made a video of it too, but they never gave you that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they just gave you a printed copy of the book, which I feel like you were kind of cheated because you didn't get all the color commentary that came along with it and all the other things that we said and all of that stuff. But okay, so it was the cats.
Yeah, that's
the cats and the trips.
Main thing I remember.
Well, so what about the trips?
I just remember there were trips, but it's named the cats. I don't know.
That's awesome. Okay, so we go through the process of you learn about us and you're like, okay, I'll see what these people are about, right? Okay. So there were two things that you asked us. So one was, why did you move to Richmond? So we live in Richmond, Virginia, from Atlanta. And then the other was about Judaism. You said, why did you two convert to Judaism? So obviously this was a while ago.
Did I say that?
Yeah, you actually asked that question.
Oh,
you didn't remember. Wow. Okay.
No.
You remember the cats and the trips, and that's it.
I was saying it's been a long time.
Well, and we all remember the terrible McDonald's that we met in. Yeah, you remember that part.
COVID. It was cold outside. It was raining.
Yep. You were wearing a black mask.
Exactly.
That you wore for like, I think, a month after we adopted you, and then you just kind of were like, meh, I'm done.
Did I wear it outside?
You wore it walking into the gas station McDonald's. God, it's so sketchy to even say that. Like, we met you at a gas station McDonald's.
Yeah.
How weird is that? Yeah, no, you wore it, and then we wondered, like, because you're meeting someone for the first time, like, is that you're like safety cautious, like maybe COVID's a concern, or was it like a radical political statement?
I don't know. Radical political statement was going to be made.
Yeah, I don't know, but okay. So for obviously what we're doing here, we're going to talk about Judaism, but we're going to talk about a lot of other stuff like the news and social issues and all of these other things. But I am curious, when you don't remember, so I kind of guess that it kind of messes up my question a little bit, but you had asked us, why did you convert to Judaism? And I remember we talked a little bit about that, and so much of that is online. I mean, you guys have seen that from 15 years ago, but I remember telling you a joke, and I said something like, we don't expect you to convert to Judaism or whatever, but if you want to get the Hanukkah presents for 8 nights, you kind of have to play along. And I remember that was the first time you smiled at me.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, cool. Okay. Well, that made some kind of impression, I guess.
I mean, when you hit like kid gives gifts for 8 days,
right?
Kind of sold.
Respect. Do you have of the we'll talk about Hanukkah at some point in the future, but do you have of the Hanukkah gifts we've gotten you? Do you have one that has been a standout? They kind of blur with birthday gifts. That's the problem.
Yeah. I don't know, the little origami book.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. How come I've never seen the origami?
Because you don't have to see it for me to be doing it.
Oh, really?
It could be it could have gotten messed up. Anything could have happened.
So is there origami somewhere that I don't know about?
I mean, probably in the trash, but I felt that I still have enough pages to still make different origami from the book. Right.
Okay. Gotcha. Huh. Man, you're just filled with answers that I wasn't expecting. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So, you're adopted into this family. Judaism is overwhelming in this household. What was that? So had you ever met Jewish people before?
No.
Tell the people a little bit about kind of where you're from in terms of are you a city kid? Are you a suburban kid? Night kid, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hate doing that explanation.
Well, I mean, you don't have to tell everyone your life story, but I bring this up for a reason. But
okay. I grew up in Blackstone, Virginia, which is towards North Carolina border-ish, 2 hours from the border, in Nottoway County, so pretty rural area.
Yeah. I'm glad you say the reason why rural area, because I think there's a sometimes, weird racial thing about if you're black equals urban. And that's something that we had to kind of explain to people as much as it was appropriate to do that. Of no, our kids from the country. So what was that rural area kind of like? Was it farm rural or
Oh, that was farm rural. I mean, because the county of Nottoway is Burkeville, Crew, Blackstone. Blackstone being the biggest town.
Okay.
Out of the two.
And what makes it what makes that the biggest town? Is it that it's just
the population?
Do you know what the population is?
Not exactly, but I know it's bigger than the other two.
Okay.
Yeah, it's you go from the town and then you drive. You want to get to Blackstone to Crew. It's just land.
Right.
And then
Right.
you get to Crew, and then there's people. And then you
Okay.
go to Crew from Burkeville, land.
Right. Okay.
And then so on and so forth. One high school, middle school, intermediate school, which is, 5th and 6th grade for the whole county.
Okay. Okay. So you have kids that are coming into those schools from like miles and miles away.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And I think you said something to me once about how, yeah, it's all this farmland and all of that, but there is kind of like a walkable sort of.
Yeah, when you're in like the towns.
Okay.
Like it's walkable to like there's a primary school, there's parks that has playgrounds and stuff, community center.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you can walk to those.
Okay. Gotcha.
In Blackstone. I don't know about everywhere else.
Okay. And then sort of fasting forward through your life story, you find yourself, living in a more urban area and then moving here, in a suburban area.
Mm.
So was there any kind of adjustment to like living in a suburb, or was it just like, I can live anywhere?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just as quiet.
That's fair, right? It's not like living in the city.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Because if we had lived in like downtown Richmond where we used to live.
Yeah, that's a lot going on. Noisy. A lot of people.
Yeah.
All in your face at once. But yeah, no.
Do you think that coming from a rural area makes you like, I don't want to say feel uncomfortable, because you don't feel uncomfortable, but maybe not like crowds and like city environments as much as maybe some people would?
No, because some people want to leave their small town to go to the big city, and
that's fair.
That is personality.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I gotcha. So, okay, so we adopted you in January, and so I'm trying to even think about what the first Jewish holiday was that it would have been Shabbat, so that would have been an easy one. So, first Shabbat, you come downstairs, and there's like little books on the table, right? So do you remember at all like what is kind of running through your mind in those kind of early moments?
Actually, no. I don't know. It just becomes so like, just you do it, and then just, I don't know. I don't think I thought about it the first time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Did I ask what it was? Or was it explained? I don't really remember.
I remember because we put the bencher, like for us, like we know those blessings. We don't have to read them, but we always read them anyway. It's just a thing we do. And then we gave you a bencher that was the conservative movement's bencher. So it's Hebrew and English and the transliteration, the phonetic spelling. And I remember you kind of looked at it and you were just like, you were just kind of going along with it. You were being cool about it. And I know though that after that you were just like, okay, I don't need to open this thing ever again.
I mean, cause like I hear you say it, like,
right.
I don't know what it means, but like,
all right, well, you should actually look at it sometime.
Like, yeah, but
I remember actually, this was sometime later though. We were talking about prayer in Judaism, and you were like, "Wait, so you're praying?" And we're like, "Yeah, that's what that is."
Yeah,
they're pre-written prayers. Yeah. Okay, cool. And so we light candles. We gave you grape juice. I mean, is it at all strange, or are you just kind of like so going with the flow that like?
I just think going with the flow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just it was. I don't know. Because I don't remember it.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just something regular.
I mean, that I kind of think that's cool because that means that it came natural. Right? Like, not that those specific activities were like natural, like you had seen them before, but more just like, oh, this is what we do. Yeah, okay. Got it. Sure.
Pretty much.
Yeah, this is just this is just what it's about. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. And then so your part in all of it is you slice the challah. That's your thing. And that was something that I actually decided to offer to you as like something that would be your thing. And I decided that like right before we put the bread on the table, because it was important to me that you have something that you could do, that you weren't just kind of like observing. But that wasn't something that was going to like ask anything of you that was religious, that you could participate in a way that would be like your thing that no one else was going to do, that was totally Javon's, like no nothing, but also wasn't like, okay, now it's not like Passover where it's like you have to read this and whatever. Yeah. And then I remember one time you asked if we could have queso.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we had like queso that we dipped. We haven't done that in a really long time, have we?
I don't know. I think it's the taste. The taste is weird.
You've lost a taste for queso?
In the bread.
What's weird about the challah bread taste?
I don't know. Maybe it's because it was a Publix bread, but I guess.
Man, no sponsorships from Publix. It turns out.
Yeah, no sponsorship from Publix. The bread is like too soft. It's
too soft.
Okay. Yeah, it's like it's not firm enough, and it's like sweet. Okay,
so. That's funny you say that because I sort of sometimes wonder if I put too much, like when I bake, you know, I'm worried I put too much like sugar or honey or whatever.
Probably not, no.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, shout out to King Arthur flour that I use for making challah. And I have to say, like, I do feel like really cool about the fact that you like the challah that I make because I never baked until you came into our life.
Oh.
Like, not like really. Like I had made challah a few times and I had made like, you know, you make like cupcakes or something like that, like something fairly insignificant. But yeah, no, the regularity of it, that's totally a you thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just became something I like doing. I didn't do it because of you. It was just like, oh, he likes my challah. Yeah. Well, now I'm going to just do that.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just remember the taste being weird.
Okay.
And I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't ask for it again. Yeah. The taste is weird to me personally.
Yeah.
I don't know about y'all.
So, okay. So there's the Publix challah, there's my challah, and then there's the Wegmans challah.
I don't remember the Wegmans.
Yeah, that's the one where it kind of like, it's like kind of big like on round. Top, and then it's kind of skinny almost on the bottom. Yeah. Like the bottom is smaller than the top is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No opinion.
No opinion. Okay, well, then I guess my challah wins. Good for me. Okay, cool. And then let's see. So I'm guessing first holiday that we really celebrated was Purim. I don't remember if you came to that first Purim party though.
Was that the year you dressed the cat? Is that the holiday or is that a different holiday?
Yeah, no, that's when I dressed as a cat. But was that because let's see, we had the one where I dressed as a cat, the one where I dressed as a skeleton, and then there was the one. Was that it?
Was the cat last year, and then the skeleton was the year before that?
No, I think Punk Rocker was the other one. Punk Rocker was the last one. So I think Cat came first. You guys went out of town, so you weren't at that. I don't think because that was the year it snowed like crazy. I think you guys went to like North Carolina or something like that, or you went to go see, you know, Grandma and Grandpa in Georgia.
I don't think that's right. I feel like I was there with the cat.
The cat costume?
Why would I remember the cat costume if I wasn't there?
It was at that brewery place. It was open to like young people too, though. Like you didn't have to be 21. I don't think you were at that one.
I don't know. I don't know why I remember the cat.
I think you maybe remember the cat costume because I probably like showed you that I was going to wear it. You were like, "What's wrong with you?"
Maybe.
Yeah. Because I think you guys went out of town for that because you were at the one where I dressed as a skeleton. Because the news was there for that one. And that was the one that was close to the house. And then the other one was the one that was in Short Pump. That was the last one, the punk rock one.
Okay.
That's the one where you guys bartended.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So it wasn't the cat, but I remember the cat.
You remember the cat. So what were your thoughts on the cat costume?
I
remember very specific thoughts about that.
I was like, why are you going to the cat?
It was that simple. Yeah, you were not a fan of the...
Yeah, it was like, why are you going to the cat? Like, you could have been like an old-timey burglar. Like, you could
an old-timey burglar?
Yeah, like,
okay.
Little, like, you know, striped black and white shirt, like a little mask, a little sack of money.
I think my problem is if I went as an old-timey robber, I'd look like the Hamburglar.
I mean, then it's a gas. You could, like, play a game. Which one is
Which one? Okay, yeah. Yeah. And then, okay, so you guys weren't at that one, but you did come to the one that we did where I dressed as like the skeleton guy. So And that was, yeah, because that would have been the first time you ever heard me do like the Purim spiel. It's like, so I don't do like a full Megillah reading because I don't have time for that, but I'll do like an English language version of it. What was that like to see?
I don't know. I don't think I remember. I don't think I remember that one well.
Yeah. Is there one like event or holiday or whatever that you remember a little bit better?
I mean, I remember the holiday where like it's the story. It's
Yeah,
Passover. I remember
Passover.
that one.
Yes. So I felt like Passover was when it all magically clicked for you.
Mm,
Meaning like you found something that was like, this holiday's for you.
mm.
So what is it about that holiday? Because you seem to like, obviously you're not like personality wise, you're kind of a little more laid back, kind of do your own thing. Not into crowds so much, but like Passover's the one where I feel like we get the pass, no pun intended,
Mm.
of like, oh no, you can have people over, like it's go time.
Mm.
What is it about the Passover Seder that works for you?
I don't know. I like the little acting.
Yeah,
The acting bit, like the reading of the parts,
yeah,
and just like everyone has fun with it.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's the best part.
So we use the Jubilant Haggadah. So if I can remember, I'll put it in the show notes so that people can download it. Because the part where you read it's the Agadah when you actually read the Magid, the storytelling component. It's like a script. I'm trying to remember who you've been. I can't remember. Were you Pharaoh?
I was Pharaoh last year. I think the time before that, I was narrator.
Okay.
And yeah, so Pharaoh narrator.
I think you were Pharaoh, and I remember you got so into it
Exactly.
that it almost scared me. Because I was Moses, I think, or Aaron, or someone like that. You were just like, get out of here.
Exactly, because you have to sell it. Oscar-worthy performance.
Oscar-worthy performance.
Will be reprising my role at the upcoming holidays.
That's true, yeah.
If you get a ticket, get a ticket.
Well, thank you. Yeah, got to do it. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and then there's food afterwards, or kind of during too. Yeah. But that makes it a little more fun. You also can't have a good Passover Seder with a lot of people. Mm. It just don't work. Like, I know that you have a very particular feeling about like the occupancy in this house. Mm. Tell everyone kind of what you have like some things that you say about that.
It's just like, when a lot of people come into a space, it shifts the energy in the space.
So what is that? Because you've talked about this idea of like shifting energy in the space.
I don't know. It's just maybe I'm just superstitious, but the energy in the space shifts when a lot of different energies.
Right.
Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's something that you feel. Like you feel the shift.
Okay. Have you always been kind of, like you said, superstitious? Is that?
Yeah, like this. Yeah. I mean, because you see me, like, every time I think of something, like, negative, or, like, I knock on wood a lot.
Yeah, you do knock on wood a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got to knock out all that bad juju does not need to be on me. Gone through enough.
So this kind of leads me a little bit to something else I wanted to talk about, which is it's not just being adopted by people who are not from a rural area, who are from the suburbs and cities and all of that. It's not just being adopted by white people. It's not just being adopted by Jewish people. Also, like, your dad is a religious leader. What is your observation of that? Because you're my son, you're not like, I'm not your rabbi. That's not the relationship we have. But like, you get to see that. Do you have like like, what's it like being the kid of clergy? Even though I think we kind of have a bit of a different, different lifestyle than maybe most.
I don't know. Just a lot of people want to talk to you.
That's
to me.
Like, talk to you.
Yeah, like to like just introduce themselves to me or feel like they need to.
Okay.
I just want they don't need to. Not in a negative way.
Right.
But they don't need to.
I mean, do you get why they would automatically like be interested in you though?
I mean, for this specific circumstances, obviously.
Right.
But like normal circumstances, I wouldn't see why they would. I'd probably respect things, but like yeah, I would get these circumstances because like it's an interesting situation. Like it's interesting.
I mean, that is why we decided to call the podcast Rabbi and Son. Like the
Yeah.
logos are faces.
Yeah.
It's like a black and white cookie right here.
Yeah. So interesting situation. So I would get
Right.
why they want to
Yeah.
introduce themselves to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because people do. I mean, they take an interest in you just as like our kid. Like it's like because you are someone who burst on the scene, so to speak, right? They want to know like who you are and what you're into and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I think I remember the night. Yeah, I think it was. I think it was the night, first night that you were here, like when we'd actually adopted you. There was a shooting or something like that. I think it was like in Texas or something like that. And I remember because we were playing Monopoly. And then I think my phone buzzed or something like that because I'm on all these like group text things about safety and all of that. I remember being like, oh, great. And like we, pulled down the blinds and all of this other stuff. And I thought, man, kid, welcome to the house, right? Like you just got here and suddenly it's like, oh, anti-Semitism. Awesome. Great. And you're like totally unfazed by it. It was hilarious.
Yeah, because I was
like whatever.
Because I don't know. I think it's different.
Okay.
Which is I think it's your first thing was to pull down the blinds. My thing is like, black person in America can't really pull down the blinds.
Right.
So it's like you have to face the world chin up.
Right.
You're gonna be disliked. So there's no need to hide.
Right. Yeah, and that's fair. And I think that's something that I've learned from you. I'm not a runaway type person. I think I definitely tend to pick and choose my battles quite a bit because I just don't have enough energy to fight everything all the time. But, learning from you and seeing like the way that you see the world as a black person definitely influences me to, I don't want to say not take things seriously because I do. I take we were talking about this. We had a whole sidebar, not going to be included here, about public safety and like some stuff going down. But definitely I'm not, clutching my pearls every time something happens. Obviously, October 7th, very unique set of circumstances in human history, and you have to respond to that. But even with things like, school shootings. Like I remember we came home from vacation in like Mexico or somewhere like that. And you're just like, you get your phone out because you're always reading the news. And it's like, well, we hadn't even gotten out of the airport yet. And you're just like, oh, school shooting.
Can't remember which one it was. That's sad, but
I know, right? It was, I think it was the graduation.
Oh,
the Henrico or whoever, wherever.
Yeah, because that would have been when we went on vacation. We did go to vacation like earlier that year. We went in May.
Right. Yeah. No, that would.
And then the graduation would have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This was slightly later. Yeah.
Not my graduation, people.
Yeah. Goodness. Yeah. So okay. So in terms of like, when you have a parent who is a religious leader, like if you could give advice to anyone about like, here's what your life like, let's say like there's some parallel universe where like there's some kid right now being adopted by not even just like a rabbi, but like any clergy. Because like we have friends that are non-Jewish clergy, Christian clergy. What would you say to that kid?
It depends on who you live with.
Right. Fair enough.
That's all it depends on, because some people are like, very by the book and you do it this certain way with these certain rules. And like, I really couldn't give advice because if that's not something that kid is used to.
Right.
And it's like being like, I don't want to say hounded on, but like the pressure to need to like learn to do these things and do it a specific way and to like change everything you previously doing to now fit into the new space.
Well, speaking of previous, I mean, I know you had some sort of religious, not Jewish experiences, obviously. Had you ever met a Jewish person that you knew of? Yeah, right. You may have, but you didn't know. What were some of your like religious experiences you had before, like as a kid and stuff?
Going to church. I mean, my grandmother, she went to a Pentecostal church,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not really sure what's different between Pentecostal and Baptist.
There's kind of a little bleed
Yeah.
over culturally, I think.
And I mean, the most I remember was, eating a little wafer and a little grape juice, and then the singing, and then that's what I was there for.
You were there for the singing.
Pretty much. I don't remember anything else.
Obviously, so gospel music is not something that Jews do, although there actually is this guy who does this thing called kosher soul. That's really good. But this is something that the Black church does so well that cannot be approximated by anybody. I am in awe of how much better it is than anything that can be done in any other environment. I wish that we could pull off stuff of that quality, but so you liked the music, okay? Maybe not so much the some of the, I don't know how to call it, behaviors that were associated with that community or whatever. I know you've kind of talked about the church ladies and stuff like that. I mean,
just like anybody. I mean, but that's that's here all the time. Small town,
right?
Church, gossip,
right?
That's a standard issue.
Yeah, it's just there's going to be gossip because that's where people are.
Exactly.
This was a predominantly Black church or all Black church or?
There were probably a peppering, no pun intended, of white people in there.
Wouldn't that be assaulting of whites?
No, it would be, but a peppering. And then other than that, I mean, there were more churches.
Okay.
A lot of churches.
Did you only go to the one, or did you experience other things?
I went to the Baptist one and then the Pentecostal one.
Okay.
And then that was it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's a Mormon church.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, and there wasn't this. I don't want to say it was a synagogue because that's what I say, but it was somebody Jewish may have owned it, and it was probably a community space.
Okay.
Yeah,
because it had some sort of temple something name or something like that.
Lion. I don't want to say it wrong.
Lion of Zion or
Lion
something.
Of Judah.
Lion of Judah. Yeah. I don't know. It might. What I'm wondering is it one of those Black Hebrew Israelite type places?
I don't know. I don't know who owns it.
We need to look into this. Well, because we talked about it before. We've never looked at it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll look it up and we'll try and figure out, is there a defunct synagogue in the middle of nowhere, Virginia, or is this some breakaway religious movement that we don't know about? Or
I don't know either.
Okay, cool. Well, so this leads me to something that you and I talk about every once in a while, because if you grow up with a Christian, normatively Christian, let's say you're not religious or anything, but that's just what understanding of the Bible. And by Bible, I mean the Hebrew Bible. Christians call it the Old Testament. You've heard those stories, but you've heard it through their interpretations. And then I think sometimes for some people, hearing the Jewish interpretations of the story, it's almost like watching a remake of a movie or something where it's oh, that's different. It's the same. Some of the horror movies you're into, they do remakes, right? And it's kind of oh, yeah, that's that same movie, but this is a completely different cut of it or something. So one of the arguments you've made to me is that God might be evil.
Exactly.
Okay, go.
I'm just saying, from what I grew up hearing in the different Bible stories, from the perspective
sure, of course, saw
it from, it was the Garden of Eden. God created Adam and Eve, created the tree of knowledge, created the serpent that tricked Adam and Eve into eating the fruit,
right? And
then casting them out of the garden, and then punishing them for something that he ultimately set up. He set them up for failure. That's not what a good creator does. You don't purposely put dominoes and then nudges you towards them, and then they all fall down. Right. And then with the whole flooding of the earth, killing all those people, and then promising to not do it again. Why would you do it the first time?
Right.
What point were you proving?
Right.
You just killed a whole bunch of people for no reason. And then it's like, in Christianity, you have like the character of Satan,
Yeah,
who was supposed to be like, fallen angel,
right,
blah blah blah, that has allegedly caused so much chaos with, or the harbinger of chaos that turns humans and tricks them into sinning. But then it's like he only exists because God continues to allow him to exist. And if we're gonna like body count, it's like God has,
what's God's body count?
Yeah, two, like God versus Satan on who's killed more people. One is taking the cake,
right?
And it's just like someone who creates should not be purposefully setting up their creations for failure. It's like me taking a chicken, watching it hatch, putting it on a conveyor belt, and then it get turned to chicken nuggets.
Like, I mean, people do that.
Exactly, and that's a bad thing. You don't create something.
Next time we have chicken nuggets.
Yeah, to then like
if we keep that in mind.
Yeah, so it's like trying like, well, I'm not gonna say all Christians, but like they try to make it seem like this being that's so caring and cares about humanity, cares about like all that stuff, but then the multiple steps in which he wanted humanity to fail purposefully.
Right. Did you, when you would, I mean, obviously your thing was like, hey, I went to church for the music. And probably because you were forced to, right? But like, did they talk about any of this stuff? Did they like, were you ever in like Sunday school classes or like anything where they told these stories at all?
I mean, yeah, Sunday school. I mean, they told, the real like basic ones. Like, I'm going to say the two that I remember, like Adam and Eve and then like the flood.
Okay.
Are like,
those stuck out for you.
Yeah.
And did they stick out for you because of like the ethical dilemma behind it, or?
No, because they sounded fake.
They sounded fake. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because you created a human and then you took another piece of the rib to create a whole other human in a magical garden and then a snake. And then like the whole arc story is just like not possible to ever happen in life. Because like you had to build like this ginormous ship, one person. I'm pretty sure it's not one person, but like that's who they say. One person built this ginormous ship, got two of every animal.
Right.
That's two of every animal that has existed up to the point where the story was written.
And there's a continuity error with it too, because is it two of every animal, and then there's also the idea of sevens as well.
Yeah, you're not getting you're not getting two lions to follow you in a ship. You're not getting two elephants to follow you. You're not getting two rhinos. These animals would have killed him.
Right.
Like automatically.
Right.
And if they didn't kill him because God intervened, then why did God flood the earth in the first place?
Yeah.
So it's like ultimately like so much rigmarole. And then the story Cain and Abel.
Oh, that was another one.
Yeah.
So all these Genesis stories, you got through Parshat Breshit and you got through Noah, and then you were like, okay, that's all I got.
But you wanted to like test his faith by like wanting him to kill his kid.
Oh, you mean
did I mean that?
Yeah, you not Cain and Abel. You mean Abraham and Isaac.
Yes. Abraham and I,
yeah, we've had this conversation about Akedah before, because like as of the filming of this right now, it's getting close to high holidays. So, okay, got it. Yeah. So, was there do you remember how old you were when you kind of had this moment of like hearing this stuff and being like, I don't know about that?
Probably like less than 10.
Less than 10. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, because that's like a little kid, like Sunday school, whatever type stuff. Okay, cool. And so you were just like, nah, this isn't.
Yeah.
This isn't the thing. Okay.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough because, and this is something that frustrates me. I mean, outside of what people believe about the stories, what frustrates me is that in the Jewish world, we've made bar and bat mitzvah this big thing that it was never actually supposed to be. And then we stop doing Jewish education after that age. So yeah, there's like age appropriate learning, and a kid like you who was probably like the smart kid, you're going to hear that stuff and you're going to process it a little differently at age 8 or 9 or whatever. But when we only do Jewish education, religious education until 13, and then we're kind of like, well, it's all optional from here. So like do what you want to do. You think a 13-year-old, I mean, most 13-year-olds are not going to
I mean, they barely make it through the bar mitzvah.
Right.
Like-
So I'm kind of like, but the problem though is that you leave people with an understanding of religion that's very similar to the things that you're kind of questioning.
Mm.
Right. Because you were like, let's say best case 10,
Mm.
right? Like, so like by age 10, and I'm guessing you probably didn't ask a bunch of questions, or did you?
No.
No, you just kind of hung back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like that is one of the things going back to Passover that I really like that we do is you like to ask the different questions and you like to kind of be like, okay, wait, but is this really what happened or is this? And I feel like if you stop religious education at 13, you're going to go into an adulthood with a 13-year-old's understanding of religion, which like there's a lot of maturing that happens from like 13 to 23 to 83.
Yeah.
And it just disappoints me that there's this tendency. I'm not throwing shade at anybody, but like there's this tendency towards, okay, 13 and you're done. Like, and yeah, and it leaves kids, becoming 14, 15, being like, what kind of weird nonsense were you trying to teach me? Whereas I think if you teach kids, they'll say it's not age appropriate, but I think we should actually teach kids religion at a much more sophisticated level than people teach them to. So like,
I mean, what does that mean, age appropriate?
Well, age appropriate.
Like what specific?
We treat children like they can only handle the like cutesy little Bible story versions of this stuff. And yeah, like maybe a 6-year-old can't handle complex like this stuff. Like maybe that's a little hardcore. But I do think that kids are often smarter than we give them credit for. And maybe they're not sophisticated yet, but that's a responsibility that we have. And if you just say things like, well, that's the story, or shut up and study for your bar mitzvah and, whatever, or you don't engage kids in it, which I think is even worse when it's like, okay, B'nai Mitzvah is like, you kid, go learn this stuff. I'm paying for the Hebrew tutor or the educator or the rabbi or whoever's doing it. I'm not involved. I'm the parent. You go do the thing, and then we're done. And like I have a mentor of mine, Rabbi Ron Herstick, who he came up with this whole idea of like family bar and bat mitzvah, of like everyone has to study together, the parents and the kid, because the parents are going to understand it at a different level than the kid, and they're going to actually engage with it. And it won't just be this like, oh, no, this is something that you have to go do to make, grandma happy. Or, oh, you don't get the sophistication behind that particular story. Well, no one does. So just, it's a talking snake. Shut up. And that's the thing that I think if I could wave a magic wand to change everything, it would be that, yeah, you don't tell certain stories to a little kid who can't handle it, but also treat children with some kind of dignity.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
If you're not going to tell them all that goes into religion, should the child be raised religious?
Well, I don't mean all that goes into it, but I mean like this goes back to Passover, actually. There's the idea of the 4 sons or the 4 children, and like they're each at a different learning level. And you have to teach, the idea of Passover in different ways to each of those different kids, like the wise child, the wicked child, right? So I get that, but I just think give kids a little bit of credit. Like they're actually kind of smart. And if you tell them things that are complicated, that means they'll ask more questions. And that's what you want. You don't want these like quick hot take answers to things, because then they're like, oh, okay.
I mean, the parents stopped at 14. What makes you think they're gonna know the answers?
And that's totally fair. It's
and they like parents don't like
right.
Parents don't like to be told they're wrong.
Right.
And then like when a child is like, oh, you don't know that, and then I'm like, get all offended. Right. Rather than just, self-reflecting and be like, oh, I don't know that. Maybe let me go learn that, and then I can tell you.
Right. So. Right. Yeah, I mean, the dominant Jewish religion in America is Reform Judaism. And Reform Judaism teaches this idea of basically you make your own Jewish path. Like you pick the things that matter to you, but you have to actually learn those things in order to decide if that's meaningful. It's called autonomy. And a Reform rabbi friend of mine several years ago said, yeah, the problem with autonomy, though, is we then expect people to go and learn stuff. And if we don't teach them, then what do they have to work with? At that point, you're just kind of picking whatever you like. And I see that with weddings too. Like when I'm planning a wedding with a couple and I tell them, like, no, I'm going to teach you everything that's in the wedding ceremony. You pick what you like. Don't just say, like, oh, we don't want a chuppah because, like, we don't have to deal with it. Like, if that's your answer, fine. But let me tell you what it is. And the number of times, and I don't think I'm like the best educator in the world. I don't think I deserve like gold stars for everything. But I've noticed if you teach people the weird stuff and like the weird thing behind it, they might go like, oh, well, if that's what it means, that's cool. Or they'll go, no one ever taught me that. I feel like I was kind of cheated. You know, I wish we treated children with more educational respect. You know, because I even see it with you. Like, I'm obviously not trying to like convince you of anything, but if you ask me a question, I'm gonna give you a straight answer.
Yeah, I mean, like question anyway.
Well, that's true, and you're older too, so I get like maybe if you were 12, I'd be like, oh God, kid, come on, like, but I wouldn't because I'm not that person.
Yeah, like I don't think parents are in the business of wanting their kids to question them,
right.
And like if the kid never questions them, they never like challenge different ideas, and that just makes them complacent rather than like saying like ask questions, like challenge ideas,
right?
Because if you don't ask questions, you will never know.
Okay, yeah. No, I think that's an important part of the Jewish tradition is that we're so obsessed with questions, maybe to a point that it's almost like there's that Family Guy where they it's like Stewie and Brian go to the synagogues. They want to find out what Jews think about the afterlife. I don't know if you remember that bit or not. Oh yeah, it's funny. Like they go to the synagogue and Stewie's like asking the rabbi, and it's like, of course, some like caricature of a rabbi with like the payas, the side locks, and the black, the beard, and whatever. But they ask him like Stewie asks him, where do Jews go when they die or something like that. And he said, why are you asking the question? And he's like, well, because I want to know. Like, I'm asking you. He's like, what do you think happens when you die? He's like, well, that's why I'm asking you. And then he made something about like, I think all of your holidays are made up so that you can have days off of work or something like that. We'll have to do like I want to record a bunch of reaction videos. So maybe like we could find some Jewish Family Guy stuff online and we could do like reaction videos. But okay, but is God malevolent? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to have to think about the best way to answer my thoughts on that. Because my thing about it's hard for me to answer questions from the perspective of a God whose nature I believe is different. Meaning, like, my interpretation of those stories comes out of a Jewish focus where the premise is just different, right? So, like, it's like, to put it simply, like, it's hard for me to give a justification from a Christian perspective because I'm not a Christian, right? So I know that's like a sort of dodgy way of like, well, what do you think happens? Like, and I know that's like lame, but I do have trouble sometimes with it because I feel like in order to even answer the question, I have to completely dissect it and be like, okay, well, when you say this, it's more like this or blah, blah, blah. And then you have this like litigator mindset of like, you are able to hold all of what someone says in your head. You're able to splice it all up and then you're able to just like go at each individual thing, which is good. That's the Talmudic process. That's like the way that we teach religion. The problem is like, it's hard to answer questions that are set up on premises that I don't even necessarily believe in or would have experience explaining because they're not part of the religion, right? So yeah, that one's kind of hard for me. But no, I don't think God is malevolent. I think there's actually more to it. I think God is Well, I think the stories are. We'll start with what the stories are. I think the stories that you find are a library of wisdom. And I think that the way that people tell stories changes over time, right? So even like a movie, like we asked you to watch Star Wars with us. And then it occurred to me, wow, the original Star Wars movie is slow.
Mm.
And it's boring if you're used to like new Marvel movies where within 30 seconds you have 15 new characters who've been added and like the plot's already been revealed, right? And I think the Bible's like that too. I think it's like hard to, yeah, it goes back to like if you think the stories serve a different purpose than just like, okay, kids, now we're going to learn about what God did in the Garden of Eden, right? If it's more like, no, God is actually an expression of like our highest hopes and aspirations, and then also all of our human frailties, right? Like the thing about like, why would you create something to destroy it? Well, think about like some artist who's like painting something and they just get so ticked they destroy it, right? Or like a sandcastle, like you make a sandcastle and then you just kind of kick it, like there's a number of times in life where we could probably relate to that. But the problem is the storytelling is not the way we would tell stories today. We wouldn't tell a story like that. That's just not the way we communicate anymore. So I don't know. So yeah, you're going to come up with what's terrible about that. And speaking of complicated things that, I don't feel like splicing apart, but we said we would anyway, Israel. So now, you're living with us. Sure, you can, the Bible isn't an everyday conversation in this household. But as of October 7th, Israel's coming up with some frequency. Did you ever think when you were being adopted that suddenly now a nation state would become part of your, It's kind of a weird thing in some ways, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand most of what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I ask questions when I have questions, but like more educated than people on the internet just randomly talking about it. But like,
what's the least educated thing you've seen on the internet?
I don't know. I think it's all these like assumptions or like restating points that they hear on other platforms.
Okay.
And like, not that they're wrong, but it's like you don't actually like understand start to present, like where we got, like how did we get to this place that we are right now? Because you think that because an expert said it, that it's like, just because they explain it nice, in a nice way and like presentable, that you could perceive it as truer than it actually is. Because they talk right, they say things clean, but then it's like where there's no one on the other side, like to ask questions, or like when you do have people who are debating the issue, it's someone is always undereducated than the person that they're discussing the issue. So like you're always missing information.
How much of what you see with that stuff is bots, do you think?
I mean, on certain social media platforms, I'm not going to say because they're paying me, pay me later.
From your mouth to God's ears, kid. Seriously, we could use it.
Yeah. On the platform owned by, a billion.
Which billionaire, right?
That starts with, a letter, at the end of the alphabet. They tell you when it's automated bots.
Yeah.
So
I have to give him credit for that. I'm kind of glad he did that.
Yeah. So, but I don't think people like actually know what they're talking about. I, on the internet, do not comment on anything Israel related.
Okay.
Because I don't know what I'm talking about. If I knew what I was talking about, then I would add commentary. But I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Even when you explain, like, especially with stuff with Zionism.
Right.
Like, you explained it. I heard it.
Right.
Still don't understand it.
Right.
Still not going to speak about it.
Right. And I would say that is a very smart approach to life. You're not claiming you know something that you don't know or that you get something that you don't, but you're at least open to hearing different things and developing an opinion from there. Most people, I think, are probably not like that. Yeah. Especially people on the internet. Yeah.
So I do think people's perception of what's going on is mixed because like they're never hearing like if you are on both sides, like on either side of the issue, you're never hearing like someone who's like on the same level of intellect and the same level of study
Okay.
on the top of Israel
So
and
like
how everything got.
when you mean like on like a show or whatever, it's
Yeah.
never people of the same intellect on one side.
Yeah,
and
like say you have a
okay.
panel or something, and then it's like, oh, this person talked about this, and then the other person like was like, no, actually,
Right.
fact, and then the
Okay.
other person like they can't answer that, so they
Right.
shift.
Right. This
to,
is
like,
like
something different.
Destiny debating Norman Finkelstein.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff
why would
like
you
that.
ever? Why
Right.
would you Destiny debate him?
That
when
was
he-
a weird one. I didn't
Yeah, like,
understand
I
what
would
that was
never-
about.
I'm not gonna debate someone who's like, I mean, not to say I wouldn't, because like I think a debate is just questions and answers, but like someone who is read on the topic to his extent,
Right.
that should not have been sitting across from someone
Right.
who's not as read.
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah, I didn't get what
and it's like
Lex Friedman was doing with Destiny being there. It was kind of an odd duck.
Yeah,
sort of
it's
like
I get that you want views for your video and for like you get the circulation in the media,
Right.
but then it's like you're about to get embarrassed because this is someone who knows knows
Right.
what they're talking about,
Right.
and then you're coming in there with like these social media facts that you gathered from like
Right.
watching
Right.
other people who probably don't know as much about that subject,
Right.
probably know like the the surface level stuff, but then like someone like Norman who's read and who's like this has been like an ongoing thing for him. You just can't, you end up looking like a fool because you can't like properly articulate why your opinion is the way your opinion is on whatever they were talking about in the different things that they're talking about.
Right. Thank you to our sponsors at Darshan Yeshiva for making this content possible. Darshan Yeshiva provides beginner-level online Jewish learning, including the very popular Conversion to Judaism program, with sponsoring rabbis and students all over the world. Start your Jewish journey any place, anywhere, and anytime with our conservative, reform, reconstructionist, Jewish renewal, humanistic, and post-denominational rabbi mentors. Become the Jew you always wanted to be with Darshan Yeshiva.